1 second. I'll complete the link to YouTube. Madam Chair, you are live.
Welcome everyone to the meeting. I would ask that Pamela Helene, our secretary, please call the roll.
Thank you. Madam Chair.
Present.
Regent Balducci.
61 Woodland is muted.
Do that again.
Yes.
Say here again, please.
Regent Balducci.
Here.
Regent Bloom.
Here.
Student Regent Galais.
Here.
Regent Guay. Absence is noted. Regent James.
Here.
Regent Japanin.
Present.
Regent McCarthy.
Here.
Regent Porth.
Present.
Student Regent Sanchez.
Present.
Regent Santiago. Absence is noted. Regent Stewart. Absence is noted. Regent Wright.
Here.
Regent Yang.
Here.
And our ex officios, Professor Blitz.
Present.
Professor Sasanker.
Present.
Commissioner Bartolomeo. Absence is noted. Commissioner Giuttani.
You know, you service it, $300.
Commissioner Giuttani. Absence is noted. Commissioner Dom. Absence is noted. Commissioner Russell Tucker. Absence is noted. Chief Workforce Officer Kelly Valeries. Absence is noted. Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Again, welcome to our October board meeting and welcome to our regents who are attending virtually from many far corners of our world, actually, because I'm hoping that Marty will join us shortly. For the second month in a row, I have the privilege of welcoming two new regents. Last month, the Student Advisory Committee elected Carla Galais and Luis Sanchez to serve as chair and vice chair of their committee, respectively. With that responsibility also comes the honor to serve as voting members of the Board of Regents. Student Advisory Committee Chair Carla Galais has been a student at Connecticut State Northwestern since the summer of 2022, arriving as a transfer student from the Community College of Vermont. We're delighted, Carla, that you made that choice. She has worked with and served on a variety of boards, most notably the Epilepsy Foundation of Vermont, the Lund Family Center, and the Ascension Child Care. She is currently Vice President of Northwestern's Student Senate, Vice President of their Phi Theta Kappa chapter, a peer mentor, Vice President of their Poetry Club, and a member of the History Club. My goodness, what a wonderful resume. We love having you, Carla. Now, this gentleman is not a very familiar face to me, but I'm trying to get to know him a little better, and I'm teasing because he happens to be a member of our chamber staff. So if I show some favoritism, please excuse me because we all love him here. Our Student Advisory Committee, Luis Sanchez is a very familiar face. Last year, he did represent Northwestern as the Student Advisory Chair, Vice Chair, and served on our board. He has since transferred to Central Connecticut State University and again represents the Student Advisory Council, or committee, I should say, as vice chair. He has been deeply involved in the student committee, advocating for peers across the community college and state universities. Currently, his academic pursuits are focused on management information systems with a minor in psychology. Along with his studies, I am proud to say that he's our marketing and business development coordinator at the Northwestern Connecticut Chamber of Commerce. Both student regents will continue their orientation this month, and we welcome their advice on strategic issues related to students. So we're very fortunate to have them with us. Next, I have a few committee appointments to announce. As you might remember, last month, Governor Lamont appointed Marty Guay and Ted Yang to the board. I've asked them both to sit on the Finance and Infrastructure Committee, joining Committee Chair Balducci and Regents Santiago and Stewart. I've also asked Regent Japanin to chair our Human Resources and Administration Committee, taking over for Holly Howery, whose term expired at the end of June. She is joined by Regents Balducci and Wright on this very important committee. I would now like to turn this over to Councillor Chang for your comments, Chancellor, I'm giving you another title, Chancellor.
Thank you, Chair Ryan. I appreciate that. So unfortunately, I must begin my comments on a very sober note. And I want to warn folks in our meeting and those who may be watching on YouTube that some of my comments in these next few minutes, they're related to global events and they may be triggering. So if you feel the need, please do mute your volume, or you could sign off now and return to the meeting at a later point. But it's important for me to use my platform for a few moments to say some things that are both personally and professionally very important to me. In my role, it's critical that the folks that I serve, the constituent groups that I serve, know where I stand. So I will flash the peace sign when these specific remarks have concluded. By now, we all know about the horrific events that took place in Israel nearly 2 weeks ago. And in all likelihood, it seems like this conflict is going to continue to manifest for some time to come. It should go without saying, but I and so many others are heartbroken for the lives that have been lost in this conflict so far, and for our people specifically in the CSCU system and in our state who have been impacted. I'm not an expert on the Middle East or on the Israeli-Palestine conflict, far from it. So in the past 2 weeks, I've done what I can to learn. I've done my own research, I've met with religious and community leaders, and I've just spoken to those close to me, friends and some family members in a way that I never have before. They've helped me. They've helped me incredibly to understand things more clearly by establishing context and sharing their perspectives that I personally lacked in trying to process what's transpiring right now. Because I, like so many others, I'm trying to reconcile what my eyes and my mind and my soul are taking in. And you measure that against the enormous backdrop of geopolitical and global history. And so there always will be a great deal that I do not know. And I may never know it because it is not my own lived experience. But I have to condemn, without equivocation, the abomination of violence that has been perpetrated by Hamas against innocent civilians in Israel. The indiscriminate murder of innocent people and taking hostages is beyond the pale of political disagreement. Right here on our campuses, in our offices, in our communities and neighborhoods, our Jewish friends are hurting. They are mourning and they are scared, and we have to recognize that. And people need to hear that we are with them and that they have our support. I also have to say this: Hamas does not represent Palestinian people. Palestinian people, innocent men and women, parents, children, the elderly, they want nothing but to live in peace and have decent lives the same way we do. And they have been suffering for generations and continue to suffer because of this violent conflict. Just 2 days ago, a hospital in Gaza was hit by a bomb. We've seen the headlines now, we've seen the horrible pictures, and there's controversy over who is responsible for the bombing. But regardless of perpetrator or intent, nearly 500 people were killed. Over 300 people were injured. Innocent people, once again, victimized. Here in the US, in Illinois, a 6-year-old boy and his mother were attacked by their landlord. The boy was stabbed 26 times and died. And it is clear from the investigation that they were attacked because they are Muslim. So, like anti-Semitism, anti-Muslim and anti-Arab racism and violence is real. Most recently in our lifetime, many of us experienced this after 9/11 because huge swaths of society and our institutions dehumanized Muslims, and Arabs. The media vilified and hate crimes rose, and the zeitgeist of nationalism burgeoned. We've seen this playbook many times, over and over again. We have to recognize what's happening here. The trauma of these events, all of this news, these words in our ears and these images on our screens, is damaging in so many ways, even if we don't consciously and fully realize it. So make no mistake, as our Jewish friends are hurting, so are our Muslim and Arab friends who are being targeted by hateful rhetoric, by vile images, and by physical threats and attacks once again. So let us make sure we stand with them as well, because they do not deserve this. And if we do not recognize their experience and their pain, then we are derelict in our duties. At times like this, I really worry about our students who might not feel safe in their classrooms, in their dorms, or walking across campus. And I worry about our faculty and our staff because of their own personal well-being. And I know that so many of them want to help our students and help themselves, but they might feel, like me, that they are not knowledgeable enough, or they don't have enough standing in this space to have a voice, or they're just ill-equipped. Because events like this are overwhelming, and we may feel helpless to meet the magnitude of this moment. So what can we do? First, I implore all of us to do what we can do to take care of ourselves. Across CSCU, services are available through employee assistance programs and student mental health counseling. Please take advantage of these resources. I would also ask us all to be mindful and supportive of those around us. Let's remind ourselves, especially in these moments, that our diversity is our strength, and our ability to have peaceful, professional, and respectful student-centered dialogue is key. I want to thank our presidents and their leadership teams, and our faculty and staff, and again, our students, for keeping your heads raised high, and for thinking about, caring about, and working with and for each other. An incredible example of this is the talk that was just given yesterday by Dr. Caitlin Karanen, Distinguished Professor of History at Eastern Connecticut State University. She's an expert on the Middle East, and Dr. Karenen's talk, The Israel-Hamas War, What Just Happened and Why It Matters, drew a massive crowd of students, faculty, and staff. In her own words, Dr. Karanen said, "My goal for this lecture is to provide a service to the community, not to teach people what to think, but to provide much needed context to help people. Thank you, President Elsa Nunez at Eastern and the Eastern community for hosting this important talk. And my special thanks to Dr. Karanen for stepping up and serving Eastern during a precarious time of need. It is the perfect example of how our institutions respect and uphold our rights to free expression and discourse, and it demonstrates the faith and trust we have in our ideas, in our own moral clarity, and in our willingness to find ways to come together for solutions. That is what higher education is all about. And I believe it is part of the antidote that will, with time, salve and heal our wounds and move us forward in a more positive direction. So you've heard me say before, and I will say again, as single threads, we are weak, but braided together, we are strong. Events like this are bigger than the system or the state or any one of us, but we can do our part in listening, communicating, supporting, and respecting each other. Please, let's do our best to stay together and build toward peace. So, on to more traditional university business. Let me also welcome Carla and Luis as student regents. This is a big responsibility. I really appreciate both of you stepping up. Carla, I love reading about and hearing about your work so far as a student, a fellow humanist, a fellow creative writer, a poet. So when we're not talking about university business, I'd love to pick your brain about how your creative writing and humanist experience is going. And Luis, as Chair Ryan noted, is a somewhat well-known commodity to us. And I thank you again, Luis, for stepping up. I know that you do this with 100% energy and focus and commitment. So I really, truly appreciate you. As we continue to do our best to address this daunting budget situation we find ourselves in, I have to thank our presidents and our lead administrators and the faculty and staff on our campuses. They've shouldered this responsibility admirably these past few months, analyzing programs, operations, and finances. Following the lead of our institutions, we hope to create a realistic, sustainable, and balanced financial future that continues to serve our students and the entire state. So this is where we stand now in our budget deficit mitigation efforts. This past summer, with the support of the Board of Regents, I charged our presidents to balance their institutional budgets using both revenue generation and expense reduction options. We will present the status and summary of these plans at a special Board of Regents meeting scheduled for November 15th. As part of the process, each institution has been working to bolster enrollment and retention. Initiatives and work in this area will be presented and discussed with the Board of Regents at a special Academic and Student Affairs Committee meeting on November 9th. Let me report on just a few more positive things that are happening on our campuses. Today, at Central Connecticut State University, the university is hosting the Connecticut Supreme Court for 2 hearings, a civil case and a criminal case. This is a wonderful opportunity for our students to watch our legal system in action. The Bachelor of Social Work program at Charter Oak State College has been granted pre-candidacy status by the Council on Social Work Education's Board of Accreditation. So we're not taking anything for granted, but I have great confidence in the folks at Charter Oak. And I believe that when the process is all said and done, accreditation will enhance the quality of education and further validate the competence of Charter Oak graduates. Eastern's Business Information Systems program recently hosted a BizTech and IT career conversations event that gave students the opportunity to network with alumni from companies like Hartford Healthcare, Pfizer, the Hartford, and Travelers. This was an enormous opportunity for our students, and we're grateful to our alumni who gave back with their experience, their time, and advice. Online nursing website, nurseeducator.com, ranked Western Connecticut State University's EDD in Nursing program as one of the top 3 nursing education programs in the United States. Western's program was the only program in Connecticut and the only one in the Northeast that earned a ranking. Congratulations to everyone at Western. CT State announced that they just received a 3-year, $1 million Lewis Stokes Alliances for Minority Participation Grant, also known as LSAMP, award from the National Science Foundation for 3 of its campuses in Southern Connecticut. Housatonic will spearhead the STEM Connect Bridge to the Baccalaureate initiative. It's aimed to elevate the number of underrepresented students transitioning from associate's degrees to 4-year STEM programs. At the same time, and in that same vein, the NSF has also awarded Southern Connecticut State University a 5-year, $3.2 million LSAMP grant designed to recruit, retain undergraduate students and graduate students and currently underrepresented STEM disciplines. It's going to benefit all 4 of our universities, with Southern as the lead, and the goal of the award is to increase the number of STEM baccalaureate and graduate degrees awarded to students of color. What better examples of collaboration, adaptability, and innovation can we ask for? This work highlights our collective efforts across the system to turn challenges into opportunities for growth and improvement. There's ever more work to be done, but I'm always confident that together we can do great things for our students and our state. That concludes my remarks, Chair Ryan. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor Chang. We truly appreciate your powerful and sobering message, yet very, very positive message with regard to the strength of our community system and our college system. So we stand in a good spot for looking forward to the future. Pam will now announce each speaker, calling on the speakers.
Madam Chair,
Yes?
Madam Chair, point of order, we failed to adopt today's agenda, and I thought it would be appropriate for us to do that. So at this point, I would like to make a motion to adopt today's agenda as presented.
So move. I do
Second.
believe it's on our agenda, but I think it comes after the public comment. And the previous minutes, but if Chair Bellucci, Balducci, I respect your motion, but I'm happy to go on as you wish.
Madam Chair, we have a second from Regent Wright.
Okay,
So if you want to call the order, we'll set this item aside and move forward with public comment.
okay, thank you. Let's do that.
You
All in
want to,
favor?
All those in favor?
All in favor of setting this aside?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Thank you. So we will continue to move on with the public comment. Pam will keep time and ask them to wrap up if necessary, and Chancellor Chang will respond to any public comment if necessary.
hold on, please. Our first presenter is Gordon Bluff. Hold on, please. I'll bring him in. Gordon is a student at Manchester. Gordon, can you hear me and see me?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Are you ready for your 3 minutes?
I'm ready.
You may begin.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate the board hearing my testimony. Speaking as a student today, students during this system merger are experiencing many difficulties on campus. We're facing reductions in service in almost every department. Students are experiencing long wait times for IT issues. IT seems to be very unresponsive to us. I have a case open since September. And our IT situation is horrible. It's hurting students. We have to go outside to get cellular service in many cases. And in our area alone, we have a student who has a life-saving medical device operated by his cell phone. And in the last 3 months, there have been 4 medical emergencies because his device became disconnected. And we feel like we have no voice because as a student here at Manchester, I've been talking about our our cellular connectivity problem for 10 years now. And nobody seems to care that it affects us negatively. We have the 2-factor authentication and we log into our computer, then we have to go outside to get the code. And many times by the time we get back, the code is expired. We have to do it again. Centralized services are hurting the students. We're facing these 10 years of budget cuts have gone past budget cuts. From the student perspective, it's defunding. And we're defunding at a time when our student population is more than 52% non-white. We have working poor self-pay students, legally disabled like myself. Increased tuition and loss of services is hurting us. It's hurting us personally, professionally, academically, and socially. And I'll have more to share in emails and future meetings as well. I didn't check the time. How am I on time?
You're fine.
Thank you. So we're facing right now reduction in library hours, reduction in academic support center hours, tutors for our students who need accommodations, and we're not properly funded we've lost our autonomy to be able to rearrange anything to meet our own needs. We know what our needs are. It feels like the system does not know what our needs are, and passing the cost on to students is unfair. And I'm speaking as a student who self-pay. Increasing tuition and taking away services or denying us access to provide for ourselves on campus what we need is just morally wrong. And it's hurting students campus-wide. Every class I go to, every open space I go to, we hear students having trouble with the system. I was working at a switchboard during enrollment season, and students were constantly calling. The online enrollment process was cumbersome and unachievable for many students. I think we lost student enrollment there. I can't tell you
All
the
right.
number.
Gordon, could you wrap up, please?
Yeah, I'll just close with that, and I thank you for your time, and look forward to participating some more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next presenter is Sarah Berry. She is an adjunct professor at Manchester. Hold, please. Sarah, can you hear me? Can you test your audio? You're muted.
Oh, sorry. Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes, I can. You got your 3 minutes. You ready?
Yep. Hold on one
You may
second.
begin.
Hello, my name is Sarah Berry. I'm an adjunct faculty member at CT State Manchester, a member of the 4Cs, and a proud MCC alum. CT State is in crisis. The budget cuts forced upon us by Chancellor Chang and President Maduko so far are minor compared to the total expected deficit, but they've already had an impact on services available to students who are acutely aware that they're paying more for less. CT State has 163 fewer educational assistant positions than we did prior to our opening on July 1st. These cuts directly translate to reduced evening hours for library and general tutoring services, an absence of qualified tutors for ESOL students, and reduced access to specialized tutoring for students with disabilities, among others. These cuts disproportionately affect the most at-risk students among an already marginalized population, those with disabilities and whose primary language is not English. While these cuts disproportionately affect our most at-risk students, they also disproportionately affect our most marginalized employees, part-time faculty and staff. Part-time EAs and adjunct faculty, such as myself, make up over 70% of the CT State workforce. We work semester to semester with no healthcare or job security, but provide the majority of instruction and support to our students and are at the most at risk of getting cut. 163 part-time EAs have already lost their jobs. 237 more EA contracts expire in December. If not renewed, that is another 237 fewer support staff available to meet the needs of the students. Manchester's CEO shared that she will be forced to reduce the PTL budget, eliminating sections of courses taught by adjuncts. The system claims to value boosting enrollment, but we are cutting the number of sections available. Between fall 2022 and fall 2023, the number of 4Cs adjunct faculty dropped by 195. That means at least 195 fewer sections of courses, even before the drastic cuts currently being considered. Fewer courses means lower enrollment based on the number of seats available. Fewer course sections means less flexibility for students to build a schedule that meets their needs. The first sections to get cut are often evening sections, so in addition to cutting tutoring and library services available for students working during the day, this will also cut the number of courses available to them, further disadvantaging these students, often adults with families trying to improve their economic opportunities. A hypothetical example. CCS is now a required course for all degree-seeking students. Manchester currently has 24 sections, all full on the first day of classes. 19 of these are being taught on adjunct contracts, so 19 sections of this universally required course could be cut. The effect on students' ability to complete degree requirements in a reasonable time frame would decimate the graduation rates that the system claims to want to increase. The ability to take classes at any campus was hailed as one of the major benefits of consolidation. Yet in reality, many students struggle with transportation, and forcing them to other campuses because required classes aren't running at their home campuses is not a benefit. It should be an option to take courses at other campuses, not a requirement. Forcing students to travel builds an unnecessary barrier for the very population whose barriers community college is supposed to help break down. If management continues to cut services and sections to eliminate staff and expenses, they're also eliminating both the viability of CT State as an option for many of our students and the ability of hundreds of our most at-risk employees to contribute to our economy.
Thank you, Sarah. Our final public comment is from Seth Freeman, president of 4Cs. Seth, can you check your audio for me, please?
Hey, Pam, can you hear me?
I can. Video's good too. Are you ready?
I am, thank you.
You may begin.
Lamont First, Board of Regents. I address you this month to continue to expose the crisis in our community colleges, articulate our anger, and discuss the complete and utter failures of this board, Chancellor Chang, and Governor Ned Lamont. As always, read my statement if you give a damn. Attached to my statement is the most recent Connecticut State in Crisis document, the running and accurate compendium of the carnage in our colleges. Due to Lamont's funding crisis, we are seeing the erosion of services across our colleges and state universities. Our students are losing programs and services of all types: academic programming, cafeteria services, career development services, fitness center services, information technology services, library services, student activity services, workforce development services, tutoring services, veteran services, and more. The list goes on and on and on. Our public higher education system is under attack. The attacks on our colleges and universities by Ned Lamont and our elected leaders is an attack on our poor and working class families who can't afford private colleges and universities and who rely on our public institutions for access to higher education. The attacks on our public higher education system are attacks on our immigrant, Black and brown students and communities. Our faculty and staff are clear. We are calling out Ned Lamont for his destruction of our public higher education system in Connecticut. We are going to fight him directly and challenge him directly. Unfortunately, this Board of Regents is a proxy and puppet for Ned Lamont. Each of you are on this board to serve his austerity agenda. You are on this board because Lamont trusts that you will serve him first. Thus, our brand new moniker for CSCU, Lamont First. In addition to the Connecticut State in Crisis document, I also attached a recent email from managers at Naugatuck Valley. In this email, Naugatuck Valley managers are telling faculty that all online courses must increase the class size to 30 students. This is what it looks like on paper to attack students and erode the quality of their education. This is also what it looks like in real time to attack faculty by increasing our workloads. But Regents Bloom, when you serve Lamont first and spending cap first, everyone understands that our students and our faculty are up for the sacrifice. Remarkably, this board serves as the useful idiots for Governor Lamont to attack the very public higher education system you are supposed to be overseeing. Each of you, wittingly or unwittingly, were put on this board to serve Ned Lamont's agenda, to serve corporate power and wealth, and attack poor, working class, Black and brown communities. So that's why we call you the useful idiot, Lamont first, spending cap first, Board of Regents. Well, thank the heavens our faculty and staff and our students don't serve Ned Lamont. Thank the heavens above, we don't serve Ned Lamont. No, so we're fighting, and we're going to teach you and your master, Ned Lamont, a lesson. Lamont thinks he can attack our students because he thinks our students are poor, working class, Black and brown students are weak and powerless. Lamont and all of you think you can attack our unions because you think our unions are weak and powerless too. So we're going to show you and Lamont how powerful our students and how powerful our unions really are. We demand
Steph,
the
can you wrap up,
legislators
please?
and Ned Lamont pass emergency funding in the spring to fix the crisis they caused. We're going to hold Ned Lamont, the legislator, and each and every useful idiot member of this board accountable for your lies and mismanagement.
Steph,
You
can
know
you
where to
wrap
find
up,
us.
please?
You know where to find us.
Thank you. And Madam Chair, that concludes our public comment.
Thank you. Thank you. We will move forward. I'd like to call now for a motion to approve the minutes from the September 21st board meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Thank you. Are there any changes or corrections?
Yes, Madam Chair. I do have a comment.
Professor Blitz, if this is a change or correction to the minutes,
Yes,
go ahead.
I have a concern with respect to the minutes. The June resolution concerning budget mitigation and other issues was amended with respect to the deadline for remediation plans and the proposed study of the system. In total, 3 amendments. Yet, so far as I can tell, and I will be corrected if I am wrong on this point, there is no corrected version of the resolution made available in subsequent board minutes, including this one. To further complicate matters, there is considerable confusion about one of the 4 elements in the resolution, specifically the quote, comprehensive academic program and student services review. This has subsequently been characterized as academic program planning rather than review, or an academic program inventory, or even, by me at one point, based on spreadsheets produced at my university as an academic program or department accounting. In order to avoid further confusion, I consider it essential that the updated resolution as amended be included in the minutes, and in addition, in the online repository of board resolutions, which itself is significantly out of date. Further, the relationship between the review or planning or inventory or accounting or however else it may be characterized on the one hand, and the mitigation measures required by the November 1st deadline on the other needs to be made explicit. As it stands, this is an example of a major resolution with considerable impact on the constituent units, colleges and universities, that needs to be updated for publication, and I would suggest further amended. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Blitz, and we're very happy to talk offline with you with regard to mitigation of this concern that you have. So are there any further comments?
Madam Chair,
Yes?
that the approved, signed, and revised resolution is attached to the minutes, as well as publicly posted on the website for board resolutions.
So we did take care of it.
We did take care of it as requested by Professor Blitz last month.
Thank you, Secretary
welcome.
Nolan.
In that
We
case, I
appreciate
stand
that.
corrected, but I would like to make it clear that this has to be communicated broadly and to all of the constituent units.
Hearing this discussion, we will now call for the vote. All those in favor of the vote to correct the minutes, to accept the minutes, excuse me?
As amended. As amended, yes, aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I abstained. I was absent last month.
Okay, thank you.
Rick Forth, yeah.
Thank you. The minutes are approved.
Do I see, Carla, did you have your hand raised for an abstention?
Yes.
Okay,
And
and
I
Louise as
believe
well?
Louise did too.
Yes.
Actually, no votes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have the approval of the consent agenda. I'd like to call for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The consent agenda is approved. Now we will go on to the committee chairs for their reports. The Student and Academic Committee, Ira Bloom, Chair. We welcome your report, Committee Chair Ira Bloom, and from the Academic and Student Affairs Committee, I believe you have an action item for approval, an accelerated Bachelor of Science degree in nursing at Western. Before we
Thank you.
open the item for discussion,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I would like to have a motion for the resolution, and then we go to discussion.
Move
Is there-
resolution.
Thank you.
Second
Is there a
that.
second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Abstentions? Thank you. Now we will go on to discussion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Academic and Student Affairs Committee met on October 6th. One of our items was included on the consent agenda, 7A, and we thank the board for its approval of that item. As you stated, Madam Chair, the ASA Committee moves one item forward to the full board for its consideration: a new accelerated Bachelor of Science program in nursing at Western Connecticut State University. I should add, at the meeting of October 6th, present at the committee meeting, in addition to the chair, were Regents Jim McCarthy, Juanita James, and Professor Kalina Sasanker. Okay. You heard from Chancellor Chang about the recognition that Western's nursing program has received. The proposal before you now is an accelerated bachelor's in nursing program, which would enable students, second degree students who have already hold a bachelor's degree in another field, to complete the remaining nursing classes that would be necessary to qualify to take the RN exam, registered nursing exam. Cohorts would begin their work in May, through the following academic year and through the following August, and they will be able to sit for the national licensing exam at that point. Connecticut Commissioner of Public Health, Dr. Manisha Trasani, was present at the meeting of the committee, and Connecticut Chief Work Officer Kelly Valores has submitted a statement to Chair Ryan and Chancellor Chang about this program. I'd like to read that statement, if I may, into the record. It's a short statement. She says, "Dear Chancellor Chang and Chair Ryan, the state of Connecticut's Office of Workforce Strategy would like to provide our enthusiastic support to the proposal for an accelerated Bachelor of Science in Nursing program at Western Connecticut State University. There are approximately 15,000 open healthcare positions in Connecticut, with nursing in the highest demand. Connecticut's nursing shortage continues to be a top priority for OWS, the Office of Workforce Strategy. Multiple programs of funding sources are necessary to address this shortage. We are excited that CSCCU has developed this program that will be vital in expanding the nursing pipeline to meet current and future demand." I should add that the program has received a substantial grant of $1.5 million from the Connecticut Horizons Workforce Grant. I would have the program is again for second-degree students who already hold a bachelor's degree who want to enter the nursing field, and they would be able to do that within the confines of what I would call an extended academic year, summer, full year, and then the following summer. I don't know if any of the other committee members or any other regents have comments or questions, but I would strongly recommend the approval of this program.
Are there any other comments? Or, yes, I believe Rich, they'll do.
No, I was just saying it's one of the better programs we have, I think, out there with the need, certainly within the state of Connecticut and the surrounding areas and states. So I strongly support that.
Thank you. I think most of us agree that this, or all of us agree, this is an outstanding program and we should be very proud of it. And boast about it and brag about it too, by the way. Thank you so much. I believe we can come to a vote now. I don't know if we need a vote. Or we don't need to approve. that,
Madam
do we?
Chair, yes, we do need a vote. We have
need a
a
vote,
first and a
yes.
second.
Okay, and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Thank you, and thank you very much, Regent Bloom, for your wonderful report and that good news.
I just want to mention, if I may, Madam Chair, the other item is the informational item that was included in this month's board packet. Andrew Simone, who is the CSCU Title IX coordinator, presented this report to a joint meeting of the Committees on Academic and Student Affairs and Human Resources on October 6th. It is a required annual report about incidents of student sexual misconduct and related interpersonal violence across the CSCU system, which is mandated both by board policy and state law. In addition to responding appropriately to reports of sexual misconduct and interpersonal violence, all 6 of our institutions across all campuses are doing work that is proactive and educational as it relates to bringing awareness about this important topic to faculty, staff, and students. I should add that although this work is ongoing and continuing, as we learned in the presentation at the meeting, our students do have resources both on and off campus to assist them in these situations. Again, if there are any questions, Angelo Simone, I think, is here. If he can also respond to questions if there are any questions. If not, Madam Chair, I conclude my report and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Regent Bloom, and that's a very positive, good report. I assume there are no other comments or questions with regard to that. If none, we will move on to the Audit Committee. The Audit Committee Chair, Elise Wright, has no report today. Moving on to the Finance and Infrastructure Committee, our Committee Chair Balducci and CFO Blanchard have a report from the Finance Committee today. I will turn this over to Chair Balducci.
I would just say, I think the report, Madam Chair, I think the report you're talking about is one we just put on the consent calendar as far as the expansion of in-state tuition to all the states that we have. It was something we had created several years ago for Western with New York and New Jersey. We expanded that to all of the surrounding states by the university and the college. And what we've done now is expanded it across the country to any students.
Discounted tuition, not.
Discounted,
Discounted. Yeah,
excuse me. Yeah, discounted, okay, staying corrected, you're right. Thank you, Wade, for that. Discounted tuition fees. So that's was passed on the consent agenda, Madam Chair. And so therefore, there really is no action item for this. It's been taken care of.
But thank you, because again, it's a positive step in the right direction. So we appreciate your leadership. Is there anything further from you, Chair Balducci?
Thank you. No, thank you,
Okay.
Chair.
Thank you so much.
Usually, no.
Thank you. We have no report from the Human Resource Committee. We have no report from the Executive Committee, but we are moving now on to executive session. And before I call for a motion to move to executive.
Madam
yes.
Chair, I'm
Yes?
sorry to interrupt you. I did have a question with respect to the Finance Committee, and that is the following. I have a concern concerning relevant to the continued use of June surplus or deficit budgetary numbers for the constituent institutions, colleges, and universities. I am concerned that the System Office may continue to use outdated numbers, not taking into account the now available third week of fall term enrollment and, where relevant, residents' headcounts.
Debt and surplus.
For example, the June figures have my university projecting a deficit for FY25, but recent calculations by the CCSU Budget Office foresee, based on increased enrollment and residence occupancy, a surplus. That obviously makes a significant difference for proposed mitigation measures. So my question, perhaps best directed to the interim VP for Finance and CFO, is whether the more recent and therefore more accurate numbers are being used. That would seem to be the way to go. But I would ask for clarification on that point if possible.
Madam Chair, if I may?
Yes, Chancellor, please go ahead.
Sure. So, and CFO Blanchard can correct me, or Committee Chair Balducci can correct me if I'm wrong, but the short story is we need to use consistent numbers based on where we are with the budget at a given time. When our budget was passed in June, we were facing a certain situation, and now we are using that as a baseline. We are not going to publicly present shifting numbers as a situation materializes and publicly display a level of inaccurate and potentially, confusing fluidity in a process. That's not responsible as a system, and it's not responsible to our legislators, to the governor's office, and to everyone who is, frankly, trying to support us to do the best that we can in our budget mitigation efforts. Because once we put certain figures out there, whether we call them a draft or whether we, basically say that this is a work in progress, they become real. And so we have to be very careful, Blitz. And so I appreciate your question as always, but I want you to understand that what we're doing is everything possible within our power to address the situation, but how we go about presenting details in public, we have to be very careful, or else we will confuse people, and that is only going to hurt our efforts. But I see that CFO Blanchard would like to add to that.
Thank you, Chancellor Chang. CFO Blanchard, are you there?
I am, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I agree, first of all, with Chancellor Chang in his characterization, a similar one that I made in the committee meeting last week. But for the Regent's purposes, we will be addressing updated deficits when we present our mitigation plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you for your response. So we are now going to,
Madam Chair, I'm sorry to try your patience on this, but I do have a point of order, or rather privilege. And I'll state this pretty clearly in just a couple of minutes. I appreciated in the public comment, the comments by Gordon Plouffe and Sarah Berry. I think they were really heartfelt and important and relevant to the problem of the consolidation of the community college, some of the dangers of which we indicated through the Faculty Advisory Committee over a number of years. That said, I must take personal exception to the claim made by the third speaker that the members of this board, and myself included as an ex officio member, are proxies or puppets of Ned Lamont. First of all, let me say, I've had the privilege of having appointed Ned Lamont as Distinguished Professor of Political Science and Philosophy at Central Connecticut State University, where over a period of 12 years, he demonstrated his firm commitment to public higher education through the many speakers, panels, and presentations which he helped organize. That said, I think that the use of the term Lamont first, or Cheng first, or Blitz first, or whatever, is entirely inappropriate. I understand the need for union leaders to confront the powers that be. I myself was a union organizer in a previous career. I can tell you, if you need to, some things about welding the hulls of Los Angeles-class submarines or the cores of nuclear reactors. That said, I understand the need for union leaders to have a confrontational point of view. But there are limits to that in terms of exaggeration and inaccuracy. And therefore, I wanted to draw your attention, which I think you've all recognized, but it's about time that someone says it explicitly. I think that the issues brought up by the third speaker are significant in terms of the cutbacks that are occurring at the community college as a result of the more or less failed consolidation of those community colleges on the basis that it was proposed in 2017, namely saving money, which it hasn't, providing more services to students, which it isn't. But at the same time, I think we need to respect the basic principles of civility, community, and collegiality, which are essential to the functioning of this board. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Blitz. We are going to move to the executive session for the purposes of discussing collective bargaining issues and the appointment, employment, performance, evaluation, health, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. No votes will be taken in executive session. Additionally, there will be no discussion, action, or votes by the board following the executive session. The only action following executive session will be a declaration of adjournment by the chair. Chancellor Chang, Provost Couturier, CFO Blanchard, Jessica Paquette, Vita Litvin, Adam Joseph, Danny Iannello, and Chris Engler are asked to join the Regents in executive session. Therefore, allow me to call for a motion to move to executive session for the purpose as I have described, and to adjourn by declaration of the chair when that discussion in executive session concludes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. The open portion of our meeting has concluded. The live streaming has been stopped.
You are confirmed the live stream is stopped.